Hello and welcome back to Sorry What, my friends. My name is Jason and I hope you're ready for today's story. Now, let's get to it, shall we? Girls. From a young age, society shapes how boys and girls behave differently. Boys tend to be more active, exploring and playing with everything around them, while girls often engage in quieter activities like playing with dolls or coloring. As they get older, these differences continue. Girls are often taught to prioritize their appearance and act feminine, while boys are encouraged to be tough and protective of girls, seeing them as delicate creatures. When a boy hits or shoves a girl for the first time, he's quickly corrected, reinforcing the idea that girls should be treated with respect and care, told they are delicate creatures and should be treated that way. As girls grow older, their mothers and older sisters will teach them the art of attracting and captivating boys, guiding them on how to get attention and affection. During their dating years, these lessons evolve, focusing on identifying qualities in a potential husband. Mothers advise their daughters to seek men with a promising future, prioritizing income, safety, care, and respect over mere appearances or infatuation. While physical attractiveness and romantic feelings are valued, they're not the main reason to select a suitable partner. The emphasis lies on a man's ability to provide security and respect, with the belief that love can develop over time if the foundation is solid. Mothers share insights into understanding male desires and preferences, drawing from their own experiences and observations. The girl would have picked up on how relationships function by observing her parents throughout her life. She'd already grasped the subtleties of manipulation. Now, the emphasis is on honing these abilities. Mothers stress the value of nurturing femininity and charm, hinting that being seen as attractive and graceful boosts the odds of finding a good partner. Most guys have no idea he is being selected or seduced. Once the girl has him in her clutches, he will become hers. The well-trained girls will be able to retain complete control of their relationship, while allowing the husband or boyfriend to believe he's in control and head of the household. It's an art form, and when done correctly, the man becomes a tool for his woman. Boys to men. Dads rarely advise their boys about women in relationships, and let them find out on their own. When they were a child, their dads let them fall or hurt themselves to learn the hard way. Men are simple beings. They are attracted to certain women, usually pretty girls who act a certain way for their liking. They don't know the girls are smarter and more manipulating, and when he becomes their target, they will give him what he wants, and allow him to think he was the one who caught her. The boy usually needs the physical connection created which comes from his need for sex. When the girl finally gives him what he needs, his desire for her grows. The more she satisfies his needs and desires, the more he falls in love. When the woman has her needs met and knows her future is secure, she will give her man what he needs. She will respect him, give him all the love he needs, and live a happy life. For that, the man will work hard to be successful, keep her safe, help raise their children, treat her like a queen, and maintain a strong family unit. He will be happy giving most of his control over to his wife, and working like a dog to keep her happy, with the only repayment being her loyalty, respect, and whatever sex she allows him. 20 to 30 years later. After so many years of marriage, the wife often becomes bored and feels she needs more. Perhaps it's empty nest syndrome or just plain boredom and depression. Talking to friends and reading magazines or online articles, she starts to believe that she's entitled to being happy, and to find something that makes her happy, including a male friend. After all, she raised the kids, cleaned the house, and was a good wife, wasn't she? And her husband doesn't appreciate her like he used to and isn't the same guy she married so many years ago. Her boredom might lead to a job or volunteer work for want of something to do. Still attractive and in good shape in her late 40s, she is now starting to feel better about herself, because she's getting attention from the men she is now engaged with daily. Of course, there's no guilt or thought of her husband because she's entitled to these new feelings or anything she wants. She deserves to be happy and fulfilled. In the meantime, hubby has been working 60 hours a week for the last 30 years to support the family, make her feel safe, pay the bills, and give her everything she asks for. Sure, their relationship had become familiar and stale, but nothing unusual for a couple after 30 years of marriage. And yes, he's carrying a few extra pounds, a little less hair, now gray, but he still loves her, appreciates her dearly, and would marry her again in a second. He never complained about the hard work, spoiling her, or all the extras she just had to have over the years. He was happy and content with his life. This is Matt and Penny's story. Penny loves her husband Matt, even though he's not as sexy as he once was. He's out of shape and doesn't excite her as much as he used to. On the other hand, Penny hits the gym 3 times a week and keeps her figure, and after hours at the salon and spa, is still a beautiful proud woman, and often embarrassed of her aging husband when they are out together. At her job, Penny finds her new boss, Sean, sexy and powerful. She allows him to flirt a little and loves the attention. She becomes playful and flirts back, and the game escalates. Then one day, she calls her sister and tells her about her new sexy boss. After Janet listens to her sister talk about her new boss Sean, she tries to bring her back to her senses. Penny, be careful. Remember what Mom said about cheating on your husband. Never do that or you will mess up everything you've worked for. Matt's an amazing husband. Yeah, he's put on some weight and isn't as handsome as he was 30 years ago, but he's given you everything and worships you. Don't throw that away for a little fun. If he finds out, you will break his heart and things will never be the same. I know, Janet, you're right. Matt's been a great husband, and I love him dearly. But things haven't been really hot in the bedroom for years. Look, after 30 years of being the perfect wife, I think I deserve to feel sexy and get a good ducking just once. Matt will never know and I'll make it up to him. Sean and I have had several lunches together, and last week, I confessed to Sean that my sex life has been stale. He offered to help me out if I was interested. I remember how I hesitated as I looked down at my wedding ring, but then I looked into his sexy eyes and admitted that I was interested. He told me to wear something sexy tomorrow, and he would rock my world. He plans to take me to my house and duck me like a woman should be ducked. Deb, I felt my kitty tingle and knew it was dripping wet. I also felt my face getting red and flushed from his words, and I knew I wanted that as well. I said okay, I'm going to do this tomorrow. It's only going to be the one time and Matt will never know. I'm just gushing and feel like a schoolgirl again. I had to tell someone, and you're the only person I can trust. Penny, listen carefully. You're playing a dangerous game. Are you willing to risk everything for one duck with some young guy that doesn't give a crap about you? Are you that dumb? Do you know what Mom would be doing right now? You would be sent to your room and get a good talking to. After all she taught you, you're willing to take a chance of throwing it all away. Janet, first of all, times have changed since we were little girls, and Mom's not around any longer. Look, I deserve this, and want to feel special again. After all I've done for Matt and the family, I deserve this. It's just going to be one time, a quickie, and then I'll be the same old wonderful wife for Matt. I'll be his perfect little housewife once again, and he'll never know. Look, I need to get home for Jake. What you're doing is wrong. You know how strongly Matt feels about infidelity, and you know that if he finds out, it's over, no second chances. He's made that clear several times. Don't abuse his trust because in the end, you'll be the loser. If you do this, please don't call me or tell me anything. I don't want to hear about it, because if I do, and Matt ever asks me, I won't lie for you. Keep this to yourself. Don't do this, Penny. Bye, sis. Penny's big day. That night, after my conversation with my sister, I tried to remove my guilt by being extra loving to Matt. I even gave him a rare blue job before I allowed him to make love to me. He was so gentle, loving, and kind, and for a moment, I was starting to reconsider my actions for the next day. We slept in each other's arms all night and I was reconsidering my plan. Matt left for work before I woke up and once again, I felt the loneliness I grew to hate. It was then I decided to give myself just one day to enjoy a one-off and a good duck with Sean's big deck. Hubby never needs to know. I convinced myself that I deserved this day and would keep it my secret forever. No harm, no foul, right? After my shower and some extra time with my makeup and hair, I opened the new lingerie I purchased after work yesterday to wear for Sean. I looked in the mirror and was pleased with my 47-year-old image. Damn, I still look pretty good, a real MILF, I said to myself. I had convinced myself that this would be a fun day, and to keep all my guilt and concerns locked away. Later that morning at work, Sean let me know it was time. To avoid suspicion, we left the bank at different times, drove separate cars back to the house, and parked in the driveway. I was tingling with excitement, and the plan was in full gear and working perfectly. Within a minute of entering the house, Sean took me into his arms and kissed me deeply. As I enjoyed his tongue in my mouth, he started rubbing my peach. This was exactly what I needed and wanted. I gave myself fully to his assertions. Sean then dragged me into the living room, ripped off my dress, and smiled at the sexy woman now standing in front of him. I nervously stood there in just my lingerie, stockings, bra, and sky-high heels, something I haven't done for my husband in years. Damn, you look good, woman. You look like a sexy little slut, just like I wanted. Now get over here, take off my pants, and suck my cock. Nobody has ever spoken to me like that before, and for some reason, it made me even more excited. From there, things escalated. Sean's ducking was relentless, and I was about to experience my third O, since he started ducking me 20 minutes ago. That was the exact moment my world imploded. Fate is fickle. Hubby had never come home early from work before 6 p.m., but fate can be a fickle companion. Due to a DNS cyber attack at work that morning, the company made a decision mid-morning to send everyone home as they investigated the breach. It would take an entire day to get things operational. They closed the office and everyone left just before lunch. Matt drove home and decided to spend a rare quiet afternoon by their pool. But that wasn't how things were going to work out for poor hubby. As he approached his home, he became confused and concerned. Matt came home early and asked himself, why is my wife's car in the driveway? She was supposed to be at work. And why is there a second car parked next to her? That black BMW 760i looks just like the car her boss Sean drives. This doesn't look right, and I don't want to surprise them if something is going on. I'll go around the back of the house and quietly enter from the back door. Just as he turned towards the house, he got the shock of his life. Looking at the tall 12-foot sliding doors, he saw an image that would now be burned into his brain forever. His darling wife, Penny, was getting railed in plain sight. He saw Penny, his loving wife of 30 years, getting pounded against a clear glass, in full view of anyone in the yard, which unfortunately, happened to be Matt. The sexy lingerie she is wearing and the look on her face tells the entire story. Shaking his head he speaks to himself, I've been replaced, and our marriage is over. Soon they would all understand the depth of pain I am feeling. There will be no mercy. Intense pain and suffering are all that I will leave behind. Back inside the house, as her thirdo approached, she cried out, ah, yes, duck me hard, Sean. Duck your slot, come inside me darling. As Sean pounded in and out of her kitty, her eyelids slightly parted and quickly shut again into deep bliss. But, a split second after they were closed, her brain processed what she had just seen. Suddenly, her eyes flew open and the reality of what she saw became crystal clear. Matt, her faithful husband of 30 years, was standing there, 3 feet away, watching her have aftero. She immediately saw his tears and the pain in his face, as he stood there holding his cell phone videoing the action with his phone. That's when everything came crashing down and she realized what she had done. Finally, back in control, she reacted and screamed out. Oh sheep. Stop. Sean, my husband's watching us. Stop, stop. She yelled, but Sean had no intention of stopping until he finished ducking her and coming inside her wet kitty. He has spent too much time working with her and getting her in this position to stop now. So, he continued to hold her there and plunge his cock in and out of her cheating kitty for the next 5 minutes. Trapped in that position, pinned to the glass, she was forced to watch the pain in her husband's eyes as she broke his heart. It was the worst torture she could imagine as she crushed the soul of the man she loved and never wanted to hurt. Her heart was breaking as she destroyed the man that dedicated his life to her. To her credit, she struggled mightily to break free from Sean's hold, but Sean's strength was too great, and she couldn't move away. She cried deep tears as she was forced to look into her husband's tear-filled eyes only a few feet away, while getting ducked from behind. Now her tears of regret, guilt, and sadness were falling from her eyes, as her husband watched the woman he loved and cared for, willingly give herself to another man. Seeing the only woman he's ever loved dressed in sexy lingerie, getting ducked by another man in his own home, told him all needed to know. Matt could hear her calling out to him with regret and in a painful voice as he turned to leave. I'm sorry baby, I'm so sorry. Matt, don't leave, I love you. Matt couldn't take another second of their ducking, and her betrayal, the pain was too great. He turned and started to walk back to his car and out of her life forever. On the way to his car, he picked up his son's old aluminum baseball bat that was still lying in the yard from days gone by, and smashed the windshield and every window on the expensive BMW. He then went to the trunk of his car, took out the utility knife, and cut the valve stems on all 4 of Sean's tires. It wasn't much of a revenge, but he knew Sean needed to feel some of his pain for taking his wife in his own home. Full of rage, he was acting quickly and decisively. Not giving her a chance to explain or apologize, he drove away from his home forever. A few miles away from his house, he pulled into a parking lot and sat for a moment to gather his wits. The rage was replaced with a terrible pain that seemed to engulf his entire body. A feeling of loss from the betrayal caused him to cry for several minutes. After he stopped feeling sorry for himself, his rage returned. He then opened the photo gallery on his phone and looked at the photos and video of his wife's adultery. For the next 10 minutes, the photos and video were uploaded to their family Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter accounts, along with a note on why their marriage had just ended. Sean's wife and children would also see the videos and photos, as he tagged them on Facebook and Instagram, which he knew would end his marriage as well. 20 minutes later, Matt was at his bank and moving all the money into a cashier's check. He then went to a different bank and deposited it into a new account in his name. After making 3 months advance mortgage payments, he left $5,000 in the checking account to avoid suspicion if she tried to use her debit card. He needed a few days head start to get a plan into action. He then cancelled his credit cards and only left her debit card active. By this time his cell phone was ringing non-stop. The sounds of a new text continually notified him of new messages, which were all ignored. By the end of the day, he quit his job, cancelled all their insurance, and removed Penny from all the benefits. All the insurance policies would be changed to the kids' names. Since he had a self-directed 401k account, he would secure the funds as well, leaving the witch truly penniless. After the 3 months, he calculated he should be gone and the house could go into foreclosure. For all he cared, that was now her problem. He now had enough money in investments, which would last him for the rest of his life. For the next month, Penny was hopeful for his return. Since all of his personal items and clothes were still in the house, she was sure he would return. But Matt didn't want anything from his past life and never returned. Penny just went to work and home every day just praying for a call or message from Matt. It's sad, but it took an event as horrid as this to make her realize how much she loved and needed Matt in her life. She understood the pain she caused and the depth of her betrayal. Guile and self-hate overwhelmed her as she cried herself to sleep every night. A month later things got even worse. Matt's attorney contacted the bank president, sent him the video evidence, and gave him an option to make this potential bad publicity go away. They suggested the bank fire both Penny and Sean for cause, and use the video as the reason for the firing. There was to be no severance package or references for future jobs. It took 2 days for the bank to agree to the terms. A week later both Sean and Penny were fired simultaneously for their sexual activity with subordinates during work hours. Penny finally realized how angry Matt was, and that he was never going to return. Her sister's admonition rang loudly in her mind, and the guilt and pain from her selfishness was more than she could handle. Matt's revenge was hurtful, leaving her penniless with no job and a difficult future. She never realized that Matt could leave her this way, and believed he would always be there for her as he always had been. The cozy lifestyle vanished in a second. Her days at the spa, the gym, and the salon were over as she could barely afford to pay the mortgage, car payment, insurance, utilities, repairs, and the rising cost of food. These were the things she never had to worry about because her dutiful husband took care of everything. Now she realized exactly what she gave way for: an exciting romp in the sack. The worst part is she would never hear her sweet husband's voice again, never feel his touch or his tender lovemaking. But she got what she wanted and deserved. Karma's a witch. After losing her job, she got no help from family, church, and friends, because they all saw the video and photos, and how she disrespected her husband and family. She knew that in a few months, the car would be repossessed by the bank, and the home would end up in foreclosure if she didn't start finding a way to make money. When she tried to sell the house, she was told that it was in Matt's name, and she would need to wait a year to prove abandonment to start the legal process of selling the home. With no other options, she ended up taking a waitress job at the local steakhouse. No companies would hire her after her sexual escapades became well known. At 47, not too many men were interested in a long-term relationship with the local whore. Sure, some men would be happy to take her out if she was willing to suck their cocks. That day, her life was changed forever. Desperate, with no one else to call, she reached out to Sean for help, but he just gave her an evil laugh when she called. Help. Are you ducking crazy? You cost me my job, and my family, and after all the alimony and child support I have nothing left. You were a good duck, but you're old and washed up. You need to find your hubby and beg him to take you back. I sure as hell wouldn't. Don't call me again, witch. Now alone, broke, and with any support, she realized what she gave away for her selfish needs. Penny's sister was angry, and refused to give her any empathy, and offered very little support, angry at her selfish attitude, and destroying their marriage and hurting their children. Her acts of betrayal had hurt the entire family, and she was persona non grata. When she realized that she didn't have the funds for attorneys to help or pies to track him down, she knew she was in trouble. The house was in Matt's name, and since he had abandoned her, there was no way of selling the house, and her option was to find a way to pay it or let it go into foreclosure. They had a nice home and she didn't want to lose it, so she ended up having to take 2 roommates in to cover the mortgage. Her privacy and the lifestyle she enjoyed was over. Penny looked for another bank job, but the market was tight and without a reference, she was not able to find one. As she was quickly approaching her 48th birthday, she had to take a night shift job as a waitress at one of the local restaurants. Her humiliation at having to wait on their friends and acquaintances from work was overwhelming. There were smirks and flirtations from the men who knew she liked to duck. Matt didn't give her a chance. One mistake and her life was destroyed. The man that she knew would never leave her, left her in the worst way. No health insurance, no money, no job, with car payments, a mortgage, and no support. That 1 second when she opened her eyes and saw Matt standing there watching her betray him was too much for him or any real man to overcome. She knew she deserved it, but wished for a way to take it all back. Matt's new life was a little different. After a month of living off the grid, his plans landed him in Cebu, Philippines, after several stops and plan changes. 6 months after that horrific afternoon, Matt is now living very comfortably off the interest of the money parked in an offshore account. He had more than enough money to live a long luxurious life with lots of young women that appreciated his generosity. When he thought back to his life, he only remembered the early years of his marriage, raising their kids, and being happy. Matt blocked out the events of that day. Once he was settled, he communicated with his kids through Zoom and Skype, never revealing his location. He loved his 2 girls and made them know he loved them and was financially sound. They sent him emails through an encrypted service, maintaining his anonymity. Now, at the age of 50, Penny was living alone and dating some older men for company. The young men she thought she could seduce wanted nothing to do with her. Her sister visited often, but continued to remind her of the mistakes she made and how she lost a good man. Penny never expected her loving husband to find out about her one-time fling. She certainly never expected him to leave her destitute and abandoned like a roadkill. She always thought she could talk her way out of anything and be forgiven. Unfortunately, Mom didn't teach her that real men will not accept outright betrayal and humiliation from the woman they love. Penny learned that lesson a little too late. And that's it for today's story, friends. Before you leave, let me share this lovely quote from Ken Poro. Be grateful for betrayal as it exposes someone who was never worthy of you or further consideration. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss any video. Goodbye for now and I'll see you in the next one.